Good morning and welcome to my Friday Fast Track webinar. This is Spence, the evil genius. And if you're looking to learn about gravity forms, you are in the right place. I'm from 1WD and most of you guys have been to one of our webinars in the past. Hopefully, though, today is going to be a good one because I'm going to be talking about gravity forms, which is my secret weapon. And after today, it's going to be yours too. I can see that the chat is starting to fill in, and I appreciate all you guys coming. Please let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. Last couple webinars, everything's been working out pretty good with the camera and the new setup. So I'll just say hi gang. And Jeremy is helping me out. Jeremy Terrier is back somewhere in the UK in an undisclosed bunker from Singapore, I believe, and he'll be helping me out today. So thank you for that. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them into the chat window, the Q&A chat window. Likewise, today above the chat window is the 1WD Notes link. So you can click out the various points that I'm making today. If you have anything that really strikes your fancy, please do, because at the end, we're going to do a random drawing from those who have posted on 1WD Notes for $97 of bling. That's stuff you can use for anything. You can give it away to the reindeer if you want. I don't care. But the most people are using it for getting the software bundle, maybe adding to their subscription length, maybe trying out the video membership kit basic. I'm also running a special that you'll notice over there. You can try 1WD TV today. If you are one of the people joining us for the first time, and we do have that quite a bit on Fridays because today is public, I encourage you to consider joining us. You click the little green link below the video. For $7, you'll get to basically experience our full 3-day boot camp, where we basically show you, and I show you in particular, all the things you need to do in order to earn for yourself $300 this weekend as a freelance web designer. And if you've never done that before, you're going to be really surprised, because the whole essence of what I teach here at 1WD TV is based upon 3 things. Okay, number 1, you don't need any previous experience as a developer or a designer. Everything that we do here is based upon a Lego block construction mentality. I will teach you how to focus and see that certain basic pain points exist for almost everybody in the 2.5 billion people online world, and that you can use WordPress as kind of the neighbor would use their plunger to fix your toilet to solve their pain points. And even if you don't know why the mechanics work, you could still get started with using those blocks that I give you. Most importantly, I like to make it a relationship between myself and yourself and make it fun to learn. So hopefully today you'll get a little taste of that. And if you want a little bit bigger taste, try the $7 trial. It's something that'd be great for you or a friend, because if you do succeed, as over 7,500 people have been through this, you're going to find, wow, $300 I made was not that hard, and I can move on to the next level where we talk about earning $3,000. So give it a try. Let's jump into today's topic in light with what I was just discussing, which is that everything I teach is modular, and everything that we do is based upon the notion you don't have to have experience. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a very special plugin. It's a premium plugin called Gravity Forms. Now, one of the ways that we make this really easy for you at 1WD TV, however, is we have something called the software bundle. I'm going to show you that in a second. We've basically, like a giant Lego kit, given you everything that we use in all of the training. So it's standardized. It's the responsive theme, one of the most popular themes ever on WordPress with more than 1.7 million people using it. The responsive Labs of Child theme, all of the plugins that we've created, or the premium plugins like Gravity Forms that you need. And all of this software is open source. I don't know if you've ever heard this word before, but open source means that the code is not owned and controlled by one company or one individual. It is literally open so that you or I or anyone else can use it, add to it, share it, modify it, do whatever we want, as long as we retain the open source licensing, which means fair is fair. If we do use something that is open source, modify it, and pass it along, even if we sell it to a client, the software remains open source. Now, that's actually one of the biggest selling points of using WordPress in my experience, because I come from the closed platform world where everything was proprietary. And if you grew up in my era, I'm 48, you remember the days of Microsoft, where every single little thing was licensed and had a code and a serial and locked down and blah, 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 blah. Those days are behind you. With WordPress, even the premium plugins being open source, it allows you to build anything you want and have the freedom to share, create, do what we're doing today. Now, the only thing is you're paying somebody for support. You're paying somebody for updates. In our case, we suggest that you could pay us for a software bundle, get about $1,500 of stuff you would get individually, sort of a wholesale bundle, if you will. We're kind of the Costco of training. All of these elements that we offer to you would be available if you wish, and you still could. Go to the individual authors and pay them individually the basically fair market value retail for each and every one of these things, and get your support directly from them, because that's what you're buying from them. You're not buying the software, you're buying the support and access to their private customer areas. We at 1WDTV offer the same thing at a much greater discount, because what we're doing is consolidating it into specific goals, tasks, lessons, things that you can use to actually deliver paying solutions. So for $47 a month, you can get access to all the service and support you need for all the things we teach and train, including the premium plugins. If you want to get the plugins, the software bundle, as I'll show you in a second, has over $1,500 of stuff for $97 a year, and we update it every Friday. In fact, it's going to be updated today. So that's the premise. That's where we're going. Today, we're going to talk about my favorite of these premium plugins, and it's Gravity Forms. So without further ado, let's do it. Drum roll, please. The effects are back. By the way, this is a series of videos. So we're on number 6 out of 8. We've been doing webinars on Wednesdays and Fridays. The Wednesdays are for Hangout members only, and Hangout members are people who have active paid subscriptions to 1WDTV. The Fridays are always public, like today, but we're going to be compiling these into a series, including the supporting handbook and the video archives. So it might be something interesting at the end, because we've covered a lot of really powerful topics that'll make you, just went through puberty again, make you more valuable as a web designer. So let's go over here to the screen, because I want to start sharing with you. All right, this is the first page. We're going to get over here to start. This is Gravity Forms. And assuming that everybody can see me and hear me and everything's great, this is the plugin we're going to feature today. And I'm going to show you some things, 5 things or more, depending on how I get into my groove. Sometimes Stella has her groove, Spence has his groove on. If my caffeine kicks in to overcome my 4 hours of sleep, I may do more. But basically, Gravity Forms is available at gravityforms.com, or, as I was just mentioning, if you go to 1WDTV/software bundle contents, and by the way, I want to apologize, but also just be honest with you about where we're at. We've been adding and extending and updating and designing a lot of stuff. This page is not long for the world, because it's being replaced by a graphical page that gives you details about what all these things do. But this is the software bundle content list, and all of this is for $97 a year. If you don't have it, you're really shooting yourself in the foot, because just, for example, Gravity Forms alone, if you look at the premium price just on Gravity Forms, view pricing, okay? A personal license for 1 site is $39. A business license for 3 sites is $99, and a developer license is $199. We're basically giving you the developer license and all of the stuff in there, and we're supporting it directly on a personal level. Not to say they don't do it either, but that's what you're paying for. With a developer license, you get it directly from them, and you should if you want. Don't get me wrong. We buy a developer license. I pay for this during every time they ask for it, because I know that it's open source software, and I want to sometimes go back into their developer docs, and maybe I need help from them. But we then pay it forward. We pass it forward through our training. And if you get our software bundle, it includes basically all of the things that you would be getting inside of Gravity Forms anyway. So just right there, it's $97 for our bundle. You're getting all of the value basically, plus our own personal support you would get here. Whoops, that we would get here. But remember, you're not going to get access to them. You're not going to get access to their customer area. You're not going to get access to their documentation. Everything will come through us, which again, may be a nice trade-off for you. Either way, now you understand how that works. So we're going to talk today about a couple of these actual add-ons and how they work, but more importantly, I'm going to give you a couple bigger tricks. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is Gravity Forms? Well, fortunately for you, I have set up our lab playground for this webinar, and I don't know if I changed, I didn't change the icon here, so forgive me. But we're going to be doing mostly stuff on the back end anyway today, so that's okay. Let's go over here, and actually, just to make myself feel better, I'm going to remove, I'm going to go over here to theme options. I'm going to remove that image. It has nothing to do with today's webinar. That was from Wednesday. Okay, so Gravity Forms installs like any other plugin, and if you were to get it from us, you would get it in the software bundle, which is a zip file that comes to you in your member area. It would be available for you to download once a month. I'm sorry, once every Friday for the update. So for example, if I was in my account area, let's see if I actually have it. I run this joint, and let's see if we have it. Download details. It would be available here under software bundle. And you can see we're doing some redesign here as well. So you're kind of catching this webinar screen. This won't look exactly like this in a while. But you'd click here, and that would give you the latest download, which would be very simple. The zip file will contain everything from that other page. Okay, so once we have that, we go over to our WordPress site. It could be our client site and whatnot. And we're going to go over to plugins and, of course, install plugins, add new. And this being a zip file, all we need to do is just select it from wherever we have downloaded it from. So upload plugin, choose file, and in this case, my downloads would be Gravity Forms, right? Okay, really simple. I've already done that to save some time. Okay, so here we've got the basic plugin, and we want to make sure that it's activated. So Gravity Forms is the main one, and we're going to say, if it hasn't been activated, we're going to say activate here. It's already been set up. So the first thing we need to do in general is get the basics going. Now, one of the biggest questions I always get is, my Gravity Forms is sending me a message that says, I do not have the license key. I'm in a panic. What should I do? Well, as I mentioned to you, you don't need the license key for this to work. It is open source software. Notice the word support license key. This gives you access to their support package, automatic updates, and that sort of thing. It does not require it in order to run. So that's important. This is the number one question I get from people who are using Gravity Forms from our support bundle or our software bundle. Okay, a couple other settings are worthy of note. Outputting the CSS. There is native CSS. We're going to cover that today. So I leave this to yes, because I actually like the native CSS classes that they have. Saves me a lot of time. If, on the other hand, you are working on a site and you are a CSS master, that's cascading style sheets, then basically you might want to turn this off, because that'll basically give you almost a neutral output. It'll put out the elements and the IDs and the rest of it, the classes, but it will not actually have CSS associated with them, which would interfere with maybe your design. HTML5. This is, if you are actually working in HTML5, and here's a little note, you could decide to turn this on. I actually leave it to no, because that pretty much leaves this in default mode, and that works for most everything that I have found I'm doing. If you are really working with HTML5 and want to have the fields set up that way, feel free. But remember, the default HTML is going to be a little more globally available. If some of your users are on older browsers or living in IE6 back in 1996, then you might want to leave that off like I have. No conflict mode. Again, same thing. Kind of helps when there are some JavaScript or jQuery things running around your site making trouble. You might want to actually go ahead and turn that on. But for most people, just leaving it like this will work fine. There is an optional reCAPTCHA form that comes inside of Gravity Forms, and you need to just go ahead and sign up for it. If you want here and click this link, it goes over here, and you can grab yourself an API key. And what I'm drinking here is, today it's a ginger geyser, as you guys know from my Hangout. What's interesting is Google, I just noticed this, has the new reCAPTCHA, which is, thank goodness, something coming along. It's going to be so much better. You can see it here than those numbers that were impossible to figure out. I don't think that this is super critical today, so just know that it's here. And if you need reCAPTCHA, great. I haven't really had a lot of problems or success with CAPTCHAs in the past, so I just generally avoid them. I use human tests if necessary, things that ask a simple question. All right, now the key thing though is we've got two other tabs here that are relevant. One of them is from an add-on, API and uninstall. API would allow you to work through the JSON REST API. This is not the point of today's tutorial, but just know Gravity Forms is a very powerful and extensible tool. So if you are working with a developer, it really can replace many of the other form fields that you would have to develop out if you were doing something really advanced. This is good to know because unlike some other plugins in WordPress that work in their own world with their own syntax, the guys at Gravity Forms, starting with the founder, Carl Hancock, have worked very hard to make this a real utility. It is literally a utility extension, almost like a Kismet is for spam control. It's a utility that is virtually the Swiss Army knife of form field stuff. So you can use this in the future. Now, I've installed an add-on called Stripe that allows you to take credit cards through your forms and do various things to allow you to get access to a WordPress site by paying. You can grab the API keys and such from Stripe. And there's also this webhooks. That's the tool that allows you to basically have Stripe talk to your site and confirm transactions, send the confirmations back and forth. Now, we're not going to go into detail on this, but I wanted you guys to see that Stripe is one of the premium add-ons that comes inside of this whole developer license. And by including it in our software bundle, we're basically giving you that for free. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can build with Gravity Forms that allows you to take payments. And you can see here the list of add-ons in Stripe basically match one for one with what we've got on our list, okay? And if I scroll down here to Stripe, we can go to their documentation page, and you can see, for example, the kind of stuff it lets you do. But effectively, there are going to be moments like, for example, a great use of this would be if you're selling signups for an event or something that doesn't necessarily require WooCommerce to manage multiple SKU numbers. This is a really, really simple way to do it. You create a page with a form, you give the information about it, you say, give me your name, your address, your phone number, give me some money, and then it'll send you confirmation, and you collect all the money through Stripe. Really, really simple. Okay, let's keep going though, because I want to show you the basics, and then we're going to get into some of the good stuff, because I do have the 5 things I want to show you. So let's start with number 1. And today, rather than doing the slides and rather than doing CodePen, I'm going to show you a trick I do on every Friday I can, which is use Chrome as a notepad. If you type this in your browser, this is a great tip. You can turn your browser into a quick edit notepad. And I like to do this because it allows me to be very spontaneous. Just type that in, grab this little snippet and put it in your Chrome browser, and then boom, you have got a notepad. Hello, world. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to do. Let's go to the top of this and highlight it and say Gravity Forms Power Tips. Okay, number 1. And I'm going to use my notes on the side here to make sure. We're going to talk about validation. Okay, and drop down validation. And what that means is that a lot of times you're going to have form fields that are required. And when you have drop downs for those, you don't often want people to select them, but you want to make sure that things are valid, right? So if in fact I'm going to show you this as an exact example, but if you're showing something to somebody as a drop down form, you want to make sure that their choices are the ones that would be legitimately available. But sometimes there's a potential for a null or a no choice required. So let's go with the basics. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to new form, and I'm going to call this drop down form and some basic drop down form. And what we're doing here is something that you would use. It could have multiple fields, but you would use this again for any time where you want to have an actual drop down. So people aren't typing in the choices. They are literally selecting them from a dropdown. All right, so for the basics of this, all we're going to do is let's go over here to standard fields dropdown. Okay, and doesn't need to be named, but we can call it, whoops, we can call it how many widgets. Let's say we're selling widgets. Okay, and the choices that we have are going to be first choice, second choice, third choice. But remember, what if we say this isn't something we're adding, right? Like maybe we're selling multiple items and we're not going to necessarily sell a widget, right? We want to first click on show values. Okay, now for the label, I want a null value. So, just to let them know that it's a null value, I'm going to put in a hyphen or a dash. I don't know what your preference is to call that. And I'm going to remove the value from that second label, or from the second column. Then let's say we go widget 1, and this value could be small, $100, and this one would be widget 2, would be large, $200. Okay, now the whole point of this exercise is that if you want this to show with a null value and not cause any problems with validation, this is the way to go. Because otherwise what's going to happen is if you just try to do no label there at all, you would have a situation where the form would fail. They wouldn't be able to validate properly, and you wouldn't be able to know for sure that somebody had filled out the fields the right way. Now, what does this look like? Well, let's go ahead and update the form. And we can go ahead and create a new page, for example. This is how we add it. I'm going to open this in a new tab so we've got 2 pages to work with. Let's call it Gravity Forms Workspace. In the real world, we'd be calling this, I don't know, widget sales page or something. Notice when you use Gravity Forms, you can click this button and just choose which form to use, right? And here I've got this one called drop-down form. And I can have Ajax and put the form description and the title, all that good stuff. And it just basically creates the shortcode for me. When I publish that and preview it, we'll be able to see when we view the page what it looks like. And let me do one thing too. Let me get rid of the sidebar here. Make a full width page so it doesn't annoy me. And I don't think we need comments here. No, none's there. Great. All right, so we've now got, I don't know why it still has the comments. It's funny. Well, I'm going to have to deal with that for the moment, I suppose. So here's our form, and you'll notice that by default it has a dash. It lets me know that there's a choice there potentially, but if I don't fill it out and I don't select something, the important point is it's not going to cause your the rest of your workflow to fail. And the validation happens when people hit submit. So when you hit submit, normally what happens is if you have a null choice, it would throw an error. Here, it's not going to throw an error. Okay, if I select something, it'll work just fine. You get the gist. Okay, kind of a weird one. I'm warming you up. Now let's talk about number 2. Number 2 is, this one I mentioned before, ready to use CSS classes. Now I noticed a few of you guys were talking in the side, a few of you freelancers, about what CSS styling occurs in Gravity Forms. And one of the things I want to show you is if we were to look at this with our inspector, hopefully the size is good on there. Yeah, I think so. You can see right here, and this may be a little small for some of you guys. I apologize about that. You can see right here that there's various label classes, right? You could see, for example, even going all the way back up to the top here, the division class has GF browser, GF form heading, GF body, GF form fields, GF field label. And all of these are available as a giant class. And I'll probably be able to just republish them. But basically, there's an entire list of Gravity Form classes, CSS classes. And Let's go over here and let me get the actual URL. Here's the URL of it. And the class list we can publish in the show notes is available at the very bottom. It should have, oh, I thought they had it all in one list. I'm going to put it together in one list. I'll grab those. But let's talk about a few of them, because effectively, this is going to help you from being frustrated when using Gravity Forms on your design. First of all, the ready-made classes can all be put with any of the form fields, or they can put globally for the entire form, or they can be put for your entire site, which is how I do it. So when I add modifications or use any of the ready-made classes, I just add them into, you guessed it, my child theme. That's not the one. Into my child theme under Appearance Editor, Lab Zip Custom. And this is what will allow us to do some things to modify the look and feel of a form. So let me give you an example. If I wanted to use one of the existing classes, we have things, for example, that let you decide if it's going to be 2 columns or 1 column. And each of the columns has a left half version and a right half, right? Which makes sense, because that way you can set up your form to very quickly have something to be on the left side or the right side. You can even do thirds, left third, middle third, right third. You don't have to invent divisions or columns yourself. You have the same thing here with lists. So for example, if you have checkboxes, they have the way built in to take one big list and turn it into 3 columns. I'll give you another example. Height of the list. You have the ability to break it up. So if you have this really tall list and it's making you crazy, it has 100 items in it, you can break that up into 3 rows by making the height very short, like 25 pixels. Okay, that's something that could be also handy for your design. Scrolling text. This is interesting because this basically implements a scroll bar. If you have a big terms of service, for example, that's part of your form, especially those of you in Great Britain, who I'm picking out today basically from that VAT tax fiasco that's going on. You know, you've got all kinds of things you need to tell people to warn them away from your site and make sure that they will not buy anything from you ever again. And it's sad, but it's true. Maybe you have to do that. This would be a good one for you, because you can use the scrolling text option and not have to be tortured, right? So for example, if I was to grab this big block of text here, right? You'll notice that I can use the GF scroll text on that class. So let's apply that. Let's go back to our Gravity form and let's edit it. And we'll just edit the page. One of the things that I want you to see here too is when we're in here, we can just delete this, or we can go ahead and click here to go to the Add Gravity Forms. Okay, it's kind of a shortcut way. It depends on how you want to do it. I can also go back over here to Forms. Okay, so if we edit the drop-down form, let's add a text field to it. And we're going to do paragraph text because it's a lot of text. Okay, and now the option that we want to add, we click the drop-down and Advanced. And remember over here, this is the, whoops, the ready class. All we need to do under the CSS class name is put in Gravity Forms GF underscore scroll underscore text. Okay, so let's do that. GF underscore scroll underscore text. Okay, what this is going to do is going to change the actual output to include the scroll bar. Now, if we want, we can put in the content, right? So, oops, in description, we put in all that mumbo jumbo, right? And we can put a label like mumbo jumbo. If all worked out, we should be able to see. Let's get rid of that. Let's get our page bookmarked here. We should be able to see the new text field. And I put it in the wrong spot, so very bad for my being the evil genius today. that I've broken it with, either that I've broken it with the actual addition. Let's try it again. There we go. Content should have gone into the default value, I believe. Sorry about that, not the description. I just put a giant label on it. There we go. Okay, so now you can see the Mumbo Jumbo has a scroll bar, right? Now this is a minor thing. I'm not trying to tell you that you should sit here and listen to me show you each and every single one of the CSS Ready classes, but these things we'll publish on the notes, and you should know that a lot of these things make it simple for you to get this to look and feel the way you want it, and all of them will basically apply the same way. You're going to go into your forms, and when you add a field, for example, let's do the radio buttons. Okay, we're going to open it up. We're going to go under Advanced, and then you could choose from any of the lists that we were just talking about. So for example, we're talking about with the radio buttons, right? Let's make this into 3 columns. Okay, so column with 3 checkbox radio buttons would be GF list 3 column. Put it in the class name, update, and then let's go look at our output. Now we've got 1, 2, 3 columns instead of 1. Okay, simple enough, very, very powerful. All right, let's go to my next item. Let's talk about quickly adding bulk choices to drop downs, radio buttons, or checkboxes. Quickly add bulk values or choices to, let's put them in there, drop downs, radio buttons, checkboxes. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's just say, for example, I think actually Walt, one of our 1W students, was asking me about, he has a lot of SKU numbers or something like that. Well, he might have to get a list of SKU numbers from his client to add. And rather than having to retype them, you can actually import a list. You can also choose from an existing list of default things like states in the United States, such as you might need. So let's go over here and I'll show you what I mean. So let's go to our Gravity Forms and let's add a drop down. Another drop down. All right, and now what we're going to do is open this up, and you see this button here called Bulk Add Predefined Choices. Okay, this is where we can do one of 2 things. We can either A, take our list, and they'd be line separated, right? So each one would be on a separate line. So Walt, for example, would take 2,000 SKUs. I don't know if it'll actually work. Maybe it'll do 100 or something. And he could put them in all in a list. As long as his client provided him the SKUs, he can do that. Now, there may be things that he wants to do, but as far as giving choices more details, like we were just showing with the value, remember you had like the titles of one and the value of the other, but at least he'd have the SKUs in there to work against. But let's look at some of the other ones that are available, like countries, United States, Canada, Yahaidar, continents, genders, age, marital status, all of the above. Employment, do any of these sound like you? Please pick one. Job type, industry, income. Oh, absolutely, I'd like to go with that one. Income, education, days of the week, months of the year, how often? I can think of a lot of questions I could use this one for. Satisfaction, those kind of go together probably. Importance, agreement, comparison, would you, and size. A lot of fun. I'm already laughing to myself inside where it counts, but you get the idea that if you choose any of these, you can go ahead and insert them. You can also save them as your own personal custom choices, which would mean that in the future, you can just choose those. If I was to edit this and say, not ever at all, okay, I could save that, and then it's something that I can put as, Spencer's choices. And you get the idea. You can customize the list and it'll still be here for the future. So I can choose this again, okay? Really super powerful. And you notice how it just worked there. So with the Walt example, I was saying he'd have to still go in and adjust the values. What he was thinking is he had a label and then a SKU that matches it, right? So you'd have every day would be, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this would be, and this would be, you know, putting a SKU for the value would allow the label to be visible, but the value could be something that would be pushed forward, okay, to the end site owner, so that they know if somebody's ordering, yeah, they bought it by the label, but they're actually sending me the SKU, and then you can know how to check out. All right, so really powerful one. Let me have a little sip here, and we'll move on to number 4. This one is really powerful. It requires a little tiny bit of copy paste coding, but you're going to love it. Conditional logic, and then I'm going to say based on user login. Okay, now what is conditional logic? I've talked to you before in many of my other tutorials about conditional logic in WordPress, right? Is this homepage? Is user logged in? Is the person a member level? Because it's a very powerful tool, like your Lego block toolkit, for making things happen that would otherwise not be available if you didn't know the answer to it. For example, at 1WDTV, we use conditional logic all the time. Is the member a login? I'm sorry, is the person a membership level, you know, of something? If yes, they can see this page. If no, they cannot see this page. It's literally like a light switch or a 3-way light switch, depending on how you build it. Well, Gravity Forms has conditionals as well, and that's what's so nice, because they're extensible. And that is to say that they can do more than just default stuff, right? So what we're going to show you today is the basics of a conditional, and then I'm going to show you how to make it where you can do a hidden field to store the user's login status. And that way, you will only show certain fields to people who are logged in. And you can think of a million reasons why this would be useful, right? I mean, if you've got a certain form and certain discount information is only available to somebody who's logged in because they're a paid subscriber, that's an obvious first use. I can think of lots of other ones. But let's talk about conditionals in general. So let's first of all start with the idea that we're going to create a hidden field. All right, and to create a new hidden field, it's right here actually. Now, a hidden field is something in Gravity Forms that lets you do some logical things without showing anything to the end user. It's kind of like the brains, if you will, of your form. So I'm going to put the hidden field in. It doesn't matter where it is in the order. Usually I put these at the top. And what I'm going to do here in preparation for our conditional is I'm going to put in a label, is user logged in. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to make a note to myself, it's hidden. Okay, now this by itself doesn't really do much, but we're going to go over here to advanced, and this is where we're going to put in a little bit of Gravity Forms magic. You'll notice that there's a little drop down here. I wish I could put this higher. Let me put this higher up on the page. There we go. These basically are some of the merge tags. The merge tags allow you to put stuff in from Gravity Forms that could be very useful. For example, it could grab the user's email or the user's login or the user's display name from WordPress. It can grab the referral URL. It could grab the entry point URL. All these different things, the user's IP address. These are really useful things. And these last ones are really particularly useful, like the user's display name, email, and login. Because when you've got a membership site and somebody comes in, you have the ability to have the form go, hey, yo, Fred, thanks for coming on. Would you like me to mail you this stuff to fred@something.com? You literally know that because the person's already logged in to see this. Now, we can take this one step further because we're going to actually put in a conditional with a value. And the value merge tag is going to look like this. User login. And what that's basically saying is the person logged in? Okay. In short-term translation, user, it's saying, well, what's the status of the user? And then it's answering the question, check to see if the user is logged in. And effectively, when you put this in, you've got the logic in place to apply this to other hidden fields, right? So in other words, you're basically telling the brains of the form that there can be a conditional here that is asking whether or not the person is logged in. And if they are, great. There's going to be some data there. If not, it's going to be empty. Okay, so bear with me. I know it's still a little confusing. So we've got the logical brains in here to say, populate a certain field with data if the person's logged in. And if they're not logged in, there's not going to be any data there. Okay, so next step, I'm going to save that just so I don't lose it. Next step is, let's make a field that we would try to apply this to. So for example, let's just say we had a single line of text and it was a message for members only. I'm going to put this up higher. Message to members only. We're going to say, you are so awesome. Here is a special discount code just for you. You rock 10. Get 100% off everything today. Okay? Now, you can style it up and blah, blah, blah. But the idea is, now we want to make that conditional because we don't want everybody to see that. We instead want to say, advanced. And here's where, at the bottom, there's enable conditional logic. We want to use that new little snippet of stuff we just put into the brains of the form to say, this will only be visible if the person is logged in, okay? All right? We want to say only if the person is logged in. So show this field if all of the following, okay? Is user logged in? It is not, and then blank. Okay. I'll run you through this again, what this means. It's, we're now saying in the brains of this, is user logged in? Okay. We're going to put in the value, would be positive. It would be, a value would be yes. It would be a 1. And if they are not, we basically want to say there's no value there. Okay. So we update it. Let's see if it works. This could be dangerous. We'll see. I'm going to open up a, let's see if I can open up an incognito window. Oops. I think I killed the whole site. Let's update it. I think I overdid it. Let me make sure. I'm going to, I need to change something real quick because I think I maybe have applied it too deeply. So let me just double check. That looks good. Show this field, if user is logged in. Let's try it like that. Maybe I accidentally deleted the form. Oh, wait, maybe. I may have to come back to this. I may have to debug it during our Q&A. For some reason, it worked in all of my practice before the show started. It's the beauty when you're doing live stuff. Okay, I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to come back to this one because I think I broke something. I think what's happening actually, and I double check because it shouldn't be a problem, is for some reason the actual form itself has stopped working just by nature of that hidden field. So I'm going to delete that, update the form. The form comes back. So I'm going to come back to that one. I know that one works, but I may have accidentally pasted in something that wasn't supposed to be. So let me come back to that in a second, because while we're doing Q&A, I can debug it and spend a little time. But let me go to number 5, because I don't want to lose my momentum on this. Sorry about that, a little action. Let's use Gravity Forms to create user-submitted posts. Now this one is a little more complicated, but I'm going to keep it simple. User submitted posts. Now, what does this mean? This is a case, I did a long tutorial about this before, where let's say, for example, you're running a site and you've got content that you want to take from the users. This is very popular. For example, maybe they're going to upload images of themselves or of their, I don't know, real estate stuff or their yoga class, something or other, and you want to actually publish that inside the normal blog. But you don't want to give them author status. You don't want to make it that they're on the back side of your site. Let's actually put in a blogger. You want to instead say, look, let's go ahead and have it where you can submit the stuff and then we'll review it and make sure that it's cool. But if it is, I don't want to have to retype it twice. I want to be able to have where you just submit it, I review it, and then if it's good, we can go from there. And that's where this form comes in real handy, because this saves you as the site owner a ton of time without having to retype the submission. People can give you the content already into the post, right? And you can even use this with a special plugin with custom post types. So over here at the add-ons, one of the things is custom post types. Gotta search for it. It might be in the main thing. Maybe they built it in now, actually. Double check, because it used to be a separate add-on and I don't see it, so it may be built in. But custom post types will work as well, whether it's with the add-on or not. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. So let's do it the basics though. So we've created, just a blog to see here. Now let's say we wanted to add something on our form so that people can go ahead and submit to us things that could potentially be part of this. All right, so let's go to our form. And let's make a new one. Post submission. You can call it anything you want. Now you notice there's some advanced fields here, right? These advanced fields are things that you can use to get, for example, the person's name, address, email, website, so on. One of the ones that we're going to use here would be, for example, file upload. So if you wanted people to be able to give you imagery, right, to include as the featured image, this would be one of the things to use. Also below that, you'll notice we've got post fields, right? So let's start with that. We want them to be able to submit their own suggested title. Maybe, maybe not. We want them to give us an excerpt. We can probably do that ourselves. So we probably want to give this the body content. If we want, we can have them give us the image right here, which would be the one that would go into the featured image area, or it could be in the main content of the page. Doesn't make a difference. And if we want, we can allow them to choose from our own drop-down taxonomy, right? We can let them choose the category and choose the tag. We can always override it, but at least it saves us the hassle of having to kind of figure out what their intention was. Now, if I have custom fields, for example, if I'm using the meta editor for the post type, I can have other fields. Like, for example, maybe I have a little box here that's for recommending additional links or something. I'm not doing it here, so I'm not going to worry about it. Now, when I update the form, okay, there's form settings and things that I can adjust here. So I could, for example, tell them a different type of confirmation than the default one. Instead of saying thanks for contacting us, I could say thanks for submitting your post idea. We'll review it and let you know if it's going live. Cheers, Spence, or whatever. Okay. You can also direct them to another page or actually redirect them to another URL. Okay. Now, when we've got that, we can go ahead and let's put that over here on a new page real quick. Submit your post ideas. And we're going to add that form just like we did before, post submission. Make that full width just for the heck of it. Publish it. And now, when we view this page, we've got a page somebody can go and say, okay, Spence's blog idea, and then blah, 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 blah. And again, they can submit, I believe they can submit it in either format. I haven't tested this. I think they can submit it as HTML as well. I have to double check. They could, for example, attach an image if they want it. Let's put, here's an image from Tracy's yoga thing. Post category, right? If I have a taxonomy there, like I do, I can say, oh, this is, what is this? Pick something. This is videos, okay? Post tags, yoga. Tracy. Okay, submit. Hopefully, if all is working, if my site isn't broken. I get the strangest feeling that something is broken here on my actual site. So let me turn off a couple plugins. I think something is messing with this. That's another plugin. So hold on one second. I think it's iTheme security, to be honest with you. We may have to talk about that because the submission of this form would usually do it by the posting through the URL. And I have a weird feeling that somehow that's messing it up. Could be the Monarch plugin is too. So something to keep in mind that when you have a really, really high security setting, or if you have another JavaScript plugin, could be causing a conflict, right? So you never know. I may have to reload this page to make this work. There we go. So I'm not sure which one of those was doing it. That might have been the reason I was having trouble on number 4, though. So keep in mind, this isn't my purpose today to tell you about like debugging, but remember, this is using Ajax. This is using JavaScript. And if in fact you've got another plugin that maybe is blocking it because there is a conflict or because the security settings are high, then just keep in mind, those are the ones to check. Check your security plugin first and check your other potential high JavaScript use plugins like that little Monarch plugin, the little bookmarking thing on the side uses all JavaScript. So it could be something that's going wrong. What I would have to do here is kind of go back and I would try turning on one and then the other and then changing the settings, so on and so forth. But just to finish this point, so now that a person is submitted from our form, if I was to go over to my posts and look at all posts, I can see here, actually what's so funny, look at this. It actually did work the first time. So what was broken was the Ajax, because the Ajax wasn't refreshing the page, but it was actually submitting the post. You know, out of curiosity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can adjust that. Remember in the forms, for that form, I had turned on Ajax. So over here in the choices, form settings, you can have Ajax or not. Let me see where we have that. Actually, that's the embed code. In the embed code here, remember I had selected in the embed code Ajax equals true. Let's turn Ajax to false. So the difference with Ajax is asynchronous JavaScript. It means that it will refresh the page without you leaving the actual shell of the other page. With it turned off by having it false, it'll have like a page reload, but we don't care, right? So let's go back over and see if this now works, just out of curiosity. I'm going to turn on iThemes security, which again, this could be still blocking it, and I'm going to turn on that Monarch. Let's just see if that fixes it. I'm really curious. Okay, so let's go back over here. I've lost the page. Okay. Let's see if it works now. Blah, blah. Spence. Twitter. Yep, that was it. Okay, so, whew, I've retained, well, that was loud. I've retained my evil genius standing in my own mind, at least, because that was basically a safe bet here would just be maybe to stick with the Ajax being off, especially if you're using some other plugins like the monarch or that, have JavaScript on the page, because that will prevent you from having what looks to have been some kind of a conflict. So, and the effect was really moderate. I mean, it really didn't, to me, make much of a difference. All right, so I'm curious to know, I'd have to go back there, and I will in the Q&A, and set back that other form. Maybe that would explain what the problem was. All right, so I want to show you a couple other quick things, and then we're going to go to a little Q&A. Jeremy will take your questions if you have them. I see a couple of them lined up. But let's talk about, for example, over here, those options, right? We were talking in the software bundle, all these that are included. And a couple of them are really fun and interesting. For example, quizzes and surveys. And now actually we'll include also polls. There's polls. And those all install as add-ons. So if I was to go back over here to the dashboard under plugins, installed plugins, you can see here I've got polls add-on, quiz add-on, survey add-on. And these allow you to very quickly, let's say, create a poll or create a quiz. So let's just make one for fun, right? So let's go to forms, new form. And let's call this, let's do poll, new poll. And want to make sure that I've activated the plugins. Those are on. And I think they're under advanced fields. Here we go. So under advanced fields, let's click on poll. And it's really simple. You just go ahead and edit it like you would anything else, right? So question 1, and you can choose the type of buttons, drop down radio, etc. First choice, second choice, etc. Randomization. You can use the conditionals, right? You could say, for example, I'm going to show you the other thing I was going to show you conditional. Let's add another question. Let's add a multi-select. If I wanted to, I could say that only if you chose the third choice in question 1 should you see this entire field. Question 2. So watch this. Let's say, for example, I go over here and I go under advanced and I say enable conditional logic. Show this field if all of the following match. Question 1, let's do question 1 is, and then the value is third choice. Okay, so I only want to show the second question if the choice for question 1 is number 3. And why is this cool? Well, let's make it more specific. Let's say dogs. I'm not going to get people killing each other. Let's say fish. Let's say, what's your favorite pet? Okay. Now it's going to probably make more sense to you. And we're going to say, hairless terriers, schnauzers, I don't know if I spelled that wrong, or Labrador. Okay. What's your favorite dog breed? Okay. So now you kind of see where I'm going with this, because if we look at this form, let's make a new page. Dog poll. We're not going to choose Ajax this time. We're going to leave it off. Okay, let's take a look. We'll save it and take a look. All right, dog poll. Notice there's only one question. First, what's your favorite pet? If I choose fish, I get nothing. If I choose cats, I get nothing. If I choose dogs, hello, I can choose which dog, right? That's what the conditional logic can be really powerful for, is not polluting your entire field with other choices that aren't relevant, right? Hairless terriers would be, if you go to hairlessdog.com, it's spelled terrier. Jeremy's funny. The obvious choice here is that you can have a very minimal set of things that lead from one to the next, right? And there's lots of cool ways that this can work, but I want you to just understand that's the conditional logic that can work really well. And that was actually kind of what I was going to in that earlier choice number 4, where this would be automatic. In the event that the person had logged in and that form had worked, I'm not sure why it didn't, when the person was logged in, the extra field with the discounts information would have worked, just like I'm showing you here for a manual selection. Okay. Now, the same is true here if we're going to set up survey, or if we're going to set up with these other optional ones, the quiz. So polls, quiz, surveys, they kind of work all the same way, and they're very clever. There's lots of Q&A going on, so I'd say this would be a good chance to jump in, do some questions. Let's see what Jeremy's got for me here. Okay. Arnie asks, are there any debugging facilities in Gravity Forms? Actually, there are. There is the ability to turn on debug. Plus, you can also turn on in WordPress. If, for example, I wanted to figure out what that JavaScript conflict might have been, or jQuery, I can actually do it via the console. So let me just show you just real quickly how you could do that. What page am I? Where do I go for this? Here we go. All right, so just an example, in Gravity Forms, under Settings, actually in each of the forms, let's go to drop-down form. There's form settings in here that will help you figure out certain things. There's also a global debug for Gravity Forms. I gotta find it. You know, you caught me off guard because there is a debug mode. Maybe it's through one of the plugins. I got to come back to that question, Arnie. I don't know the answer to that because I know it's there. I just don't remember where it is. However, having said that, one of the ways that you could adjust and look at any conflicts is you could turn on your console in Chrome or Safari or whatnot, and I would go here to console mode. So if we were having a conflict, for example, with a form that wasn't working, and let's go to a form like the dog poll. All right, and turn on inspect element. If we put the console on and we preserve a log if we want, we can reload this page, and any of the errors and conflicts would typically show up here. And that would be the way that I would see it. If one of the JavaScripts was blocking another, it would show a warning that something didn't load. So that's another good way to do it. And lastly, you can turn on the debug mode in your WP config file. That would show any PHP errors at the top of the screen. All right, so that's a good question. Next is Walt asks, can you have it update the categories if you enter something that doesn't exist already in the categories? What you can do is you can create the drop downs and then you can add new fields at any time, but there's no way to automatically wait, maybe your question is with the categories. The post option that I just showed you, where there's the drop down of the choices for categories, that's automatically populated from your WordPress site. So if you do update the WordPress site and the category list expands, those choices will expand as well. If you were referring to the other example I gave you about how to bulk populate your drop down list, that is manual. So it doesn't have an automatic capacity. The only exception being, and I'm not sure, I haven't tested it, is if the taxonomy was an option, but I don't think that it was an option. I think that was put it like this, the information that you have available to you to pre-populate those dropdowns is static. It comes from either the database that Gravity Forms has already built or the database that you customize. It doesn't talk to WordPress to get that data. Couple Q&As, and then I have some mechanical questions about 1WD. Tanya Bagley asks, in the bulk values, can you populate those from a database? It's a good question. I believe you can, but it's going to be an operation. In other words, it's not going to be something that is like regularly going and populating. This is kind of like Walt's question. It's going to be possibly that you can do it one time and grab the data out. I don't know the answer to the question. I could certainly do a Google search and look for it with you, but that wouldn't be effective. I would Google that. I don't know the answer. I would say, though, that it'd be very easy to go to your database and export a list of values and then have the values be line separated, or CSV would probably work. But the idea would be that if you just spit out the raw values that you need, you can just copy paste them right in there. Jose Carlos Diaz asks, do you use this to get leads or lead pages? Absolutely. Lead pages will work with Gravity Forms. Gravity Forms will work with MailChimp. MailChimp will work with lead pages and Gravity Forms. There's a tool that I'll show you called Zapier that I experimented with for a while. I didn't have really good success with it, but it doesn't mean that it isn't awesome. There is a plugin for Gravity Forms that works with Zapier. And Zapier is like an automated workflow generator, okay? What it allows you to do, it has hundreds and hundreds of companies that have cooperation with us, webhooks. And what it allows you to do is pretty much, I'm looking if they have a good example here. You can build a workflow. So for example, you could take in from a Gravity form information, send it over to MailChimp. Then MailChimp sends it over to your PayPal, and then PayPal sends back something to your Gravity Forms. And it's literally like a supercharged way to plug a bunch of unrelated services together, right? It's if this happens, then that. There's actually a building process called if this, then that does similar stuff. But with Zapier, you kind of see this image here maybe. You know, you could have a situation where you take in from Gravity Form, goes to your Salesforce. Then from Salesforce, it creates a new lead, and then it sends a welcome message from MailChimp. So that would be one way that I would suggest you could have it be used for leads, right? Lead Pages has a situation where you can take in a person's name and email, and you can put it into Gravity Forms, or you can put it into MailChimp, and then from there, something else could happen. So when you start digging a little bit, both at Gravity Forms' information and other places like Zapier, it becomes very exciting how much you can really do with it. And you can see here, for example, they've got the Zapier add-on that allows it to integrate with these other 200 potential services. They also have a user registration form if you're going to do like an event. Twilio, so if you want to do SMS notifications. Of course, PayPal and Stripe. Coupons. FreshBooks, all this good stuff. And like I said, we have all of those will be listed here. If they're not in there right now, they will be on here. And they work very nicely with all the other stuff like the WooCommerce add-ons. Kevin Matan asks, is there a way to have iTheme security just ignore anything coming from Gravity Forms so you don't run into those problems? Yeah, I mean, in this case, it didn't turn out to be iThemes. So the good news is it was obviously a JavaScript conflict because I had Ajax enabled, which is asynchronous JavaScript. And I'm like, I'm going to prove a point here. I'm like 99% sure. And I said this before in the webinar when I was introducing Monarch. Monarch is really beautiful, right? It was that thing that makes some amazing, wonderful stuff happen with that. We use it over here at 1WDTV, right? Oh, look, it's so cool. All that's jQuery. It's beautiful, right? High potential for that jQuery to be bumping into some other Ajax that's going on the page with your Gravity form. So let me prove that that was the case. If I go over here to our plugins, install plugins, okay? Monarch is active and iThemes is active. Let me deactivate Monarch and let's go back over to my dog poll. That was the one that was not working with Ajax on. And now let's turn Ajax back on. I'm not sure if that was the one that was the poll I used, but we're gonna do it anyways. We're gonna do poll Ajax, okay? Update. Now let's see if this works. If it works with Monarch off, then I know that was the problem, right? So I'm ready. Let's see, I'm crossing my fingers. it works, right? So I think I was actually on a different forum. I was on submit your post ideas. So let's do the same thing. Let's see if this one works, because that was the one that was broken. Ajax true. Update. Okay, view page. Let's see if it works. Blah, 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 blah. Ready? Crossing fingers. Ta-da, it works. Okay, so what did we just learn? Yeah, it was the Monarch plugin, which was breaking stuff. Now, I'm going to just take you one step further. If I inspect this, I'm not 100% sure this is going to work, but let's go back, and now I would reactivate Monarch, and let's see what kind of shenanigans might be available to us to see. Okay, so let's reload this page. I can see some weird stuff going on already. Tags, let's submit it. You know, it's so funny. It's working now, so I don't I don't have any idea. Maybe it was just a fluke, or I had to reload the page. But in any event, it's working now, even though I've got the Monarch running and I've got iThemes. Maybe Monarch isn't really activated or something. Maybe that was when I turned it off. Let me make sure. Save changes. I'm always as curious about this as you guys are. I always like to problem solve. Okay, now it's on the page. Let's see if we can break it. If it works, great. I'm happy. Oh, it works. Okay. Well, I guess that was one of those false alarms. So what do they say? It happens. Off topic from Unrated Chicago. Is there a service that can send mass text or SMS messages like MailChimp for mail email? Yes. Twilio is what I use. Twilio is a twilio.com, and I like it. I've used it before. It's I think it's like free to get started. I use it for two things, and I'll tell you what I do. Messaging. Let's see if there's a free messaging plan. Maybe not, but it's very inexpensive. Here's what I use it for. I use it for two things. First of all, I actually have an old Nextel phone number that was from my 25 years ago business, and I don't want to give up the number, but I don't want to use the number either. And so what I did is I set up a Twilio account. It cost me a couple dollars a year, and any phone calls to that old number get forwarded automatically and seamlessly in the background. So instead of having to park my old phone number on one of those services that charged me $25 a month for nothing, I just did a Twilio. The other thing is that you can have this SMS or text messaging and do this in bulk. So you can use this with a variety of different plugins or natively, and it takes care of all that stuff for you, right? And also you saw there's an add-on over here for Twilio. So Twilio SMS add-on, integrate Gravity Forms with Twilio so you can have SMS notifications. You can use that in a variety of ways. Obviously, you can proactively use it on your own form to send out stuff too, right? So check out that linkage. By the way, for bulk email too, just in case I'm covering my butt, I'm going to have a full follow-up. There was a recent quick tip I just gave you guys about Mandrill. Mandrill is your bulk email if you want to do it directly from your WordPress site and not get blacklisted. This is the underlying engine that's run by MailChimp. So effectively, it allows you to go directly from your WordPress site to the underlying email engine that's white labeled, not necessarily using MailChimp's interactive interface or GUI interface. And this is really cool because we're using this now for a client that we're launching his fitness product. He has a prepaid card that people buy and wants to be able to give them drip content. And so we're using this to send all those emails instead of MailChimp. Okay, really good. All right, I have a couple questions that are coming in that are unrelated to today's topic, but I'm just going to cover them. And then I'm going to take a walk and lunch and a nap because I only have 4 hours sleep today. Today, Fridays are my tough days. I have all 3 boys, and everybody was having fun last night. Clement asks, had wanted to sign up for the $7 Try One WD TV, but there's no PayPal payment option. Okay, that's on purpose, but I'm going to give you a bypass on that. You can send $7 to help@trikelab.com via PayPal, and then email me at spencer@onewd.tv. I just posted that in the chat. Jeremy will redo it. I have deprecated at the end of this year, and on 1WD.TV, all use of PayPal, and there's a very good reason for it. I don't have anything against PayPal. It's got its uses. But for running the membership site up to a certain point, it was fantastic. After that, once you get into the hundreds or the thousands, it becomes a very frustrating experience because PayPal does have some quirkiness, and more importantly, it doesn't give the users, you guys, this flexibility to move up or down or left or right or credit or anything. Now we use Stripe. Stripe makes that a no-brainer, and I really, really love how powerful it is because many of you guys are oftentimes going up and down. And I just want to show you something because I'll ultimately share with you how I built this, working with Cheryl right now on the design elements, but I don't mind sharing with you. Over here at 1WD.TV, you'll notice there's some weirdness in your My Account area. And what we're ultimately going for is that we're really taking all the member content that was just skewed around everywhere from all of our growth, and we're building it into the dashboard area. And more importantly, there's going to be a progress bar that's going to show you everything from I'm at a free level to a free plus social, maybe I'm a member, maybe I'm a member for annual, maybe I'm a member for life. Wherever your position is and whatever you have, it's going to show. So you'll see everything that you have, everything that's available, everything you want to have, and all of your content will be now organized in a way that makes this experience, I think, much more gratifying and much easier to either randomly access or to progressively access. And I'm really, really excited about this because this is one of the fun things about having a WordPress site and growing a membership community like 1WD.TV or like you're going to be doing for your clients. It's the Lego blocks, right? I'm living the dream that I teach. So I'm constantly going, oh, we just built this little snowman. Now we're going to take it apart and we're going to build the supercharged snowman 5 feet higher. Take it apart again because we have more people. And next thing I'm doing the 8-foot Santa in the mall out of Lego blocks or the snowman or whatever. That's what we're doing here. We started with an idea, had one product, one webinar, one concept, and grew. Some 8,000 people later, 18 months later, we're now basically tearing it down and building it up again in a way that makes sense given how much stuff we have. So really exciting. Kevin asks, what lifetime membership? We are reactivating the lifetime membership. That's going to be something that I will reveal the details, but if you're just curious and your wallet is burning a hole right now, you can go to 1WTV, click on Start Learning Today, and there is a tab there now. This is all going to go away, but you can click here now to get it. It's one-shot deal, okay? And the pricing is $14.97. This price may be different, but if you're gung-ho right now, what you're going to get for that is effectively everything inside of 1WD.TV. And again, I want to hold my tongue, but you will definitely get the video membership kit. There may be some other things we release that are not included in the future, but the lifetime membership will be everything we have here. And considering the value proposition we've already mentioned just on the software and the coursework alone, I'm leaning towards this, and I've had a lot of people ask me for it. The other thing we're going to introduce again is we're going to come back with the annual memberships as well. So a couple new things. I'm excited about it, but I'll leave those details for another time and another place because that wasn't the point of today. If you have an annual, yes, you can update. So if you just bought an annual or you already have an annual and you want to update today, right now to lifetime, go for it. You're welcome to do so. You'll get a credit back for what you paid on the annual, at least on the active annual. I'm not going to go back if you've been with us for 18 months to the last year, but if you just did the $199 deal or something else, absolutely click it and you'll get everything, which is nice. And for me, what's interesting is we now have a lot of data after 18 months of our retention rate, our return on investment for the people who have subscribed. Most of those who have stayed past 3 months, you guys are probably included in that category, have seen the financial rewards, either on time savings, actual client savings, you know, we've saved you from putting your foot in your mouth and you close the deal with the client, or on new business, right? I love examples like Tejas or Sergio or any of the folks who literally are in places where to land a $1,500 or $2,000 or $3,600 client is a big deal. And to get that one person, I mean, that would pay for 3 lifetime memberships, right? So it's something you definitely could consider, and I would welcome you on board. I think I just closed my window there. All right, let's do another of these Q&A questions. We've got JC was kind of helping out. Yeah, we got rid of PayPal on the site, so we can manually override it, but I loathe to do so. For a simple thing like the $7, it's no problem, but for recurring subscriptions, I don't want to do it. So what's so funny is PayPal requires you to have a credit card with them in order to do a recurring PayPal subscription anyway. So we're just taking one step out of the link. Clement, if you, I think we answered this question to death. So if you're doing a one-time purchase, no problem. Send me over the $7, send me an email, you're good. If you're trying to do a recurring thing, that's something we have to figure out. Okay, who's the guy on the poster over Spence's left shoulder? This is, I mention a good friend of mine all the time, Vince DePinto, who's a graphic designer who is now completely hooked on WordPress, right? He used to have everything hand-coded. He's an amazing author. He hand-painted the original of this. It's kind of a spoof for somebody. It's Ronald Reagan, obviously not Uncle Sam. I'm not getting into politics here, folks, but it's just it's a hand-painted. I mean, it's not a picture or anything. It's hand-painted, and he did a whole art show. He gave me one of his works, and I love keeping it up. He and I have been friends since we were 3 years old, but he's one of the folks that I mention a lot, DePinto Studios, that uses WordPress, and now they sell 300, 600, and up just for basic websites that they can offer features like e-commerce, right? Membership capacity, and so on and so forth. So he's exclusively gone over from Dreamweaver to WordPress, and he uses his design skill to make some amazing, crazy stuff happen, right? I mean, it's based upon themes, but he just takes it to the next level with just flick of his wrist, so to speak. So Salsa Steve asks, can you explain how the payment gateway sandbox works? Can it be used for testing? Yeah, real quickly, if you're using Stripe, when you log into Stripe, you go in the upper right corner and you go to stripe.com. I don't need to show you because I have a whole tutorial on this. Go to stripe.com in the upper right corner, click on your account, and one of the choices are API keys, and it gives you 4 keys. It's like sandbox testing, sandbox secret, live, I'm sorry, it's public and sandbox. So it's public and secret. So it's testing, public, testing, secret. It's live, public, live, secret. And you post those 4 keys into that Gravity Forms area of the add-on, just like you do if you're using WooCommerce or if you're using Paid Membership Pro. And that instantly enables the connection between Gravity Forms and Stripe. So you can use Gravity Forms to take payment, which is really awesome. Tanya asks, can we learn about how to do what you have there? It is so great. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm using all of my own stuff, okay? So when I tell you about using responsive and responsive lab zip and all of this stuff, I'm using it here at 1WDTV. This is the responsive lab zip child theme. It is effectively all the same things that I include into our video membership kit, or I include into our own little nuggets of quick tips and so forth. So when I finish with this redesign, I'm going to definitely share it with you, just like I shared the last one, because you guys know that that's included in the video membership kit. The members area there was just the same design that I had been using kind of at 1WDTV. So DePinto Studios should be at, let me see if it's at depinto.com. He's got a site at depinto.com, but it's funny because that's not a whole website. He actually does work for a big company. He's an employee there, I think, a car outlet. And so he also does a lot of artwork for physical products. That's what his father, who's a good friend of mine, and him did for many years. He's got Chicago Art Biz, I think. Hold on. Let me just type it in and see if it shows up. I'm happy to share it. You would think I would know what the URL is because I actually manage the site, but I'd have to. Let me take let me take a look at my email off of the screen here, and I can. Oh, good. I'm not showing you the screen. Okay, good. So I can look at my mail. Yeah, Stripe is not available in a lot of countries. So there's questions coming up. Stripe is not available. It's available in most of Western Europe, Canada, North America, obviously USA. I think Mexico. But not everywhere. Oh, it's chicagoart.biz. You know what I just noticed too is I was showing you me while I was typing. So his website's not up, but here's his name. And I'll definitely share in the show notes Vince's stuff because it's pretty good. Okay, so let's see if we got any other questions. Any other questions? Did I miss any, Jeremy? Anybody? Okay, good. All right, well, it's time for the drawing. Let's go to the drawing screen, please. I'm going to share my screen. This is going to come in very handy because I'm sure almost all of you guys are going to immediately go to lifetime membership. I'm positive all of our bling winners are going to go to lifetime memberships, right? Oh, maybe not. Okay. All right, let's do it. It's time for the drawing. The sound effects are back. We're going to go and search for 1WD notes. And as Claire has always reminded me, I always click all. Okay, next, random number generator, random.org. All right, so what we do here is, those of you who don't know this, we are going to actually do a random number. I usually do 1 to 20, but I try to go less sometimes so I don't have to make a mistake. And then what we do is draw somebody out who wins 97 bucks of bling. Okay? All right, so let's do this, as we say. Random number, I'm going to pick 17 random numbers. Let's see what it generates. Oh, this is going to be good one. Number 4. I'm going to give everybody fair warning. Fair warning. We're going to do a drawing. So post now, last chance. Anything you want to share about 1WD Notes, please share it. Share it now. Okay. Okay, because now I go over here and I refresh the page. Click all. 1, 2. Oh my God. It's long overdue, but Claire Brotherton is the winner. Claire, you are the winner. Anybody can be a winner here. I mean, Claire is at every single webinar, and I don't remember the last time she's won. Finally, she has got her Christmas early. Yes, indeed. Claire, thank you. And I want to say thanks to everybody. Let me just go ahead and come on the screen so I can wave goodbye. I'm feeling the need for a little R&R today, and then I'm going to get back into the good stuff of finishing the site. You will see weirdness live. I always work on the airplane while it is in the air with the engines turning. So don't be weirded out when you see this stuff on your My Account. It's because I'm actually rebuilding the site while we work, and everybody's there. So if you missed any of today, this will be online all day today, and then it will be over at 1WD TV. On the outside of the site still under the resources page, fast track webinar link, or use the webinar link right now. That'll remain until we just set up for next week. I am going to be giving webinars next week on Friday, the 26th. There will be no hangout on the 24th for obvious reasons. We will be doing one on the 26th, which is Friday, because, hey, you know, the fun continues between the end of Christmas and New Year's. So if you want to come Friday, I'll announce that. That'll be posted shortly. And then we have 2 more sessions to finish up this 8-pack bundle. In the meantime, anybody who is interested in anything I talked about today, the software bundle or the $7 entry or the special VMK price, lifetime membership, you can contact me at spencer@onewd.tv, or you can go click on support at the top of 1WD.tv itself. So as always, this is Spence, the evil genius, and I'll see you next time.